let us all do we can to build a better future.
So you remember the mayor of Dearborn? Now he's talking about the Wall Street Journal op-ed. Apparently, people in the Vote Blue, no matter who's here, decided to go after him. They decided to go after him because, oh no, he's not all in for Biden. He's not all in. He was given his criticism. Now, my criticism of him is he's still doing the lesser of two evils by saying that Trump is a threat to democracy. I've made it very clear how I feel about the two-party system. The two-party system is owned by corporations and Wall Street executives who do not like us, who do not think about us, they don't respect us, and that is to be expected because, let's face it, Washington, D.C. is ruled over by sociopaths, and they are bought and owned. However, it is rather refreshing to see some criticism towards Biden and how he's losing Arab and Muslim voters. So I got this video from Case Study QB. By the way, folks, please be sure to follow Case Study QB on all of social media. He's doing some phenomenal work, and I have recently spoke with him as well. So if you're not following Case Study QB, please do so. His Twitter account is still wrongly being censored. And as you all know, we here at Hardlands Media despise censorship in all of its forms. So here we have the full interview, and I want to play it. Some parts I'll be pausing in, so I will keep my pausing to a minimum. I know I've broken that promise here and there, but I do promise you this time around, you'll hear the full interview, and I'll add in my commentary.
Dearborn, Michigan is home to the largest Muslim population per capita in the nation. It is a city that has been particularly touched by the Israel-Hamas war and the subsequent humanitarian crisis inside Gaza, as many community members have family ties and personal connections to the region. But now the mayor of Dearborn, Abdullah Hammoud, is ramping up police forces in places of worship and major city infrastructure after a scathing Wall Street Journal op-ed was published on Friday titled, "Welcome to Dearborn, America's Jihad Capital." The mayor says the article has already led to an alarming increase in bigoted and Islamophobic rhetoric online targeting the city. The piece has received widespread criticism over the last 2 days, including from Michigan State Senator Majority Whip Mallory McMorrow, who called it, quote, not only irresponsible, but downright dangerous. And that's because grossly mischaracterizing imams, politicians, pro-Palestinian protesters who live in the city, and it conflates them with organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah and a country like Iran. But it makes no mention of the more than 27,000 people, many women and children, killed inside Gaza, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, as the reason the millions of people across the country and the world are protesting. And it comes at a time when we're seeing rising anti-Arab American and anti-Muslim sentiments throughout the country. Let's not forget, back in October, a 6-year-old Palestinian boy, Wadia al-Fayoum, was stabbed to death by his landlord in an alleged anti-Muslim hate crime.
And yes, we did talk about this here at Hardlands Media, and this was a tragic loss of life. And unfortunately, as we are still talking, the bombs are still being dropped. People are still dying. Aid is still not getting into Gaza. There is talk about a ceasefire, and I want the guns and the violence to end. I think we all do. You know, to quote Trump, we want people to stop dying. People stop dying. But this war has, as I said before, will lead to the foundation of the next war. And this hit piece that the Wall Street Journal did, I know a lot of people called it out. Revolutionary Blackout Network, Brianna Joy Gray, Jimmy Dore, and so many others, especially in regards towards how the mayor is giving his opinion about Biden. And look, everyone is entitled to an opinion, a perspective. It's called constructive criticism. And Biden and the Democrats need to get over themselves, because vote blue no matter who. I get that you're triggered by Trump. I understand that you're triggered by Trump. I get it. I get it. But you're letting that man not only live rent-free in your head, you're letting him also take a dump in your head. Perhaps maybe that's why you're not able to do any kind of critical thinking or observe the fact that Biden is truly incapable of even debating or going up against Trump, which is why he's losing. That's why Biden is losing in many key swing states.
In November, a former Obama official was arrested after he was recorded taunting a New York City food vendor with Islamophobic insults. He has since reached a plea deal on hate crime charges. In November, a man was arrested after shooting 3 Palestinian students in Vermont simply because they were speaking Arabic with a mix of English. 2 were wearing keffiyehs, a traditional Arab headdress. One of the students, Hisham Awarthani, was left paralyzed from the chest down. Local and federal authorities are still investigating the motive in that crime. But it goes without saying then that the kind of rhetoric we see in the Wall Street Journal leads to real life threatening consequences that President Biden has acknowledged is a danger in a post on X, saying in part, Americans know that blaming a group of people based on the words of a small few is wrong. That's exactly what can lead to Islamophobia and anti-Arab hate, and it shouldn't happen to the residents of Dearborn or any American town. Notice the post makes no mention of the op-ed in question. The president's support among Arab Americans has taken a drastic turn recently, falling to a whopping 17%, down from 59% in 2020. His numbers are also dropping in Michigan, where recent polls have placed Donald Trump in the lead. And this past week, President Biden may have been hoping to turn things around with a visit to this state. Instead, a tense scene unfolded at UAW event in Warren when a group of pro-Palestinian protesters tried to confront him over his administration's support for Israel's ongoing war in Gaza. Biden campaign had planned to meet with several Arab American leaders while in Michigan, but several of them, including Dearborn's Mayor Abdullah Hammoud, declined that invitation. Mayor Hammoud joins us now to discuss this and more. Mayor Hammoud, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I'll start with the Wall Street Journal op-ed. You've called it racist, bigoted, and Islamophobic.
Now, looking at the Wall Street Journal, this opinion, and look, people are all entitled to an opinion, but why are you calling Dearborn this America's jihad capital? These are U.S. citizens, okay? Now, I don't like it when the neoliberal establishment media went after supposedly Trump supporters in, yes, you guessed it, East Palestine, Ohio. You had a lot of celebrities and other vote blue no matter who sycophants saying, oh, well, they deserve it. That's Trump country. They deserve it. No community should be slandered or smeared like that. These are U.S. citizens, and they are voicing their First Amendment right. And I think we all can agree that these wars are starting to get pointless. These wars are costly. We have money for wars, but we can't take care of our people. And now what? Another community is just being slandered. America's jihad capital. Because what? The mayor had the audacity to say, well, Biden's losing us. Well, gee, not only is Biden losing what? Arab and Muslim voters, he's losing Latino voters, he's losing black voters. Hey, vote blue no matter who. When are you going to start making your own little quote unquote racist comments towards those communities? I'm looking forward to it, actually, when you start smearing and slandering other people. Because vote blue no matter who, your coalition is falling apart. Perhaps maybe this is a death blow to the Democratic Party. And for which I have to say, keep on doing it, corporate media. Keep on doing it, vote blue no matter who. Don't expect independent media or free thinkers to go ahead and save you. You're going to try and use your same old tactic of bullying everybody because, oh no, Donald Trump. That doesn't work anymore. I got bigger things to worry about than Donald Trump. On election night, I'm cooking a ribeye steak. The one thing I'm going to worry about on that election night is, will I cook it perfectly? That's the only thing I'm going to care about, making sure that it's perfect. Otherwise, it's not going to matter who's president of the United States.
And I listed out just a few examples of the kind of ramifications a piece like this can lead to in our country. But talk to us through what you're hearing on the ground from your constituents, how it's landing in the community, and what made you make the decision to increase the police presence at around community centers, places of worship, and elsewhere.
Almost, thank you so much for having me. You know, that piece was extremely inflammatory, and upon it being published, we received many calls from faith leaders across the community who no longer felt safe, including residents and members of the congregation. And so working with our police chief, we upped the patrols, especially around places of worship, to ensure people not only knew that they were safe, but also felt safe. And what we found online, though, was just an alarming rate of Islamophobic and anti-Arab rhetoric that was just spewed all over, various social media forums. Language such as, oh, Dearborn might be a great place until I show up with my AK-47. That type of language is unacceptable. And it's something that we want to ensure to our residents that we're doing all that we can to ensure their safety.
Can you describe for us, some of the conversations that you've had with your constituents since the war began generally? How have members of your community talked about the grief and the pain of what they are experiencing as Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, or residents in your community with close ties to Gaza and what is happening there?
You know, for many, they're reliving the trauma. We are home to a large Lebanese community, Palestinian community, Iraqi community, Syrian and Yemeni communities. And for them, many are immigrants, refugees themselves. And so they bear the scars and the firsthand accounts of what it was like to live under occupation, under apartheid, under bombardment, and watching all the scenes unfold, the genocide being live streamed. It's as if they were living that experience all over again. And when you have residents coming to your council meetings, when we passed a ceasefire resolution, talking about losing 80 loved ones, what words can you offer? Condolences are certainly not enough. But this is a time in which our Dearborn community comes together, Arab and non-Arab alike, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, and try to be there in this really difficult moment.
Now, here's the thing. This is the atypical kind of conversation you see on corporate media where you have the whole thing of, hey, we got to be careful with our language and so much more. But this is a double-edged sword. Yes. Look, I think it's important we communicate properly with one another. But at the same time, too, this is the tactic that Vote Blue, no matter who, used effectively well in 2016 and in 2020. Oh, we gotta hijack with all these, or take these groups and hijack them so that, we can bully other people into voting Democrat. Or use the fear of Trump to support us. You see, Trump, being the big mouth that he is, he doesn't hold anything back. In many ways, I am surprised how effective he was in 2016 and looking back at it in 2020 as well, and now in 2024. However, Vote Blue, no matter who, and corporate media and all those who are triggered by the words of Trump use that to cause fear and panic amongst a lot of other groups. Be careful how you speak and tone. And now we're seeing the Wall Street Journal using this tactic of, oh no, America's jihad capital. Well, what's that supposed to do? Is that supposed to make liberals angry and say, well, gee, if the mayor only was being polite, maybe this article or opinion piece wouldn't be written. The point is, Wall Street Journal and corporate media as a whole, when free thinkers and people who are now waking up at the two-party scam look at this, we realize that we've been had the whole time. You want to make a difference? Break away from corporate media. Learn how to tear it apart. Read through the lies. That movie They Live. I wish all of us had sunglasses so we can actually really read what they're trying to say to us.
Last night on this program, I talked to Michael Tyler, communications director for the Biden campaign. Let's take a quick listen to what he told me after I asked him about the support of Arab American and Muslim voters in a swing state and an important state.
Brace yourself for this one, folks.
Like Michigan.
Yeah, we're certainly concerned about every state. We're concerned about Michigan as well. We are reminding folks, that the president is approaching the conflict as the commander-in-chief, not through the lens of politics, and that is going to continue to engage with the community from now through November and through the next 4 years when he is reelected. People elected Joe Biden because he has the empathy, the decency, and the seriousness of purpose to serve as commander-in-chief and to serve as president. And we believe that stands in stark contrast to people like Donald Trump, who's running a campaign of revenge, of retribution, of harm, because he cares about himself and certainly has no business stepping back into the Oval Office. So we will engage with the community and we will continue to present our vision and contrast that with our opponent in Donald Trump.
There's two things that stood out to me, and that one is the words empathy and decency, because I think some of the criticism has been that this administration has not shown enough empathy and decency to constituents like yours.
Now, what we heard there was a word salad, okay? Apologies for the late pause, but they're doing the atypical of, oh, we want everyone, every single vote. Well, Michigan and a lot of these other key swing states, you're losing voters. You're losing voters who might vote Republican or vote independent, or either that, not vote at all. What's the incentive? The lesser of two evils. Even if you vote for the lesser of two evils, it's still voting for evil. And Americans are realizing that. If I vote for this party, nothing's going to change. If I vote for this group, nothing's going to change. My life is still going to suck. So in other words, a lot of these Arab and Muslim voters, not only in Michigan, but across the country, just like black voters, Latino voters, white voters, women voters, men voters, young and old, we're all looking at the entire system and it's not representing us. Case in point, a lot of these Democratic and Republican politicians are profiting off of insider trading. Be sure to check out Unusual Whales
in Dearborn or other Palestinian, Arab, Muslim Americans. And two, the part of contrasting with Trump as being one of revenge and retribution. I thought I just would pose that to you and get your reaction to how that message matches with Biden's actions when it comes to the Israel-Hamas war so far.
You know, the residents in Dearborn actually feel betrayed by current President Biden because he had promised decency and he promised to lead with humanity in the White House. And what we have found since the events of October 7th are anything but. Residents feel ignored, and each time a spokesperson steps to the podium at a various press conference representing some State Department, we see that lack of empathy being spewed from the podium. When you're questioning the number of Palestinian lives that have actually been lost, when you express that the only thing that can be promised is more civilian casualties, and reluctantly only speaking to Palestinian lives only in reference as civilian casualties. You know, for us, when you have an opportunity to engage the community, because I heard the spokesperson use the word engage, there are several forms of engagement. You know, to only send a campaign manager as the first form of engagement.
Great. I'm glad he's bringing up engagement. Now, here's the point of being engaging with constituents. You, the president, are the commander in chief. You're supposed to unite the whole country. I mean, ideally, you know, voters go out to vote and they pick somebody to become president of the United States. And that president then becomes the figurehead. He is our chief. Now, I'll never forget when Rush Limbaugh said, I want Obama to fail. Now, I have my criticisms of Obama, but I want to be very clear on this. I don't want to see the president of the United States fail, no matter who they are, Republican, Democrat, Green, Libertarian, Independent, because they're the commander of the ship, okay? And I want that ship to get to port. If they fail, we are all screwed. And what we are witnessing with the Biden-Harris administration is a president who doesn't engage. People of East Palestine, Ohio, you see the president? No, probably not. Hey, people of Lahaina in Hawaii, did you feel inspired by a president? Did you feel like he was really there, engaged? Now, while he was there, he only talked about how his house caught on fire for like, what, 20 minutes? Jesus Christ, was he even all there? Same thing as well for engagement. They sent a campaign manager there. No, the president of the United States ran in 2020 of bringing the soul, say it with me, the soul back to America. You feel soulful? You feel whole? No, probably you don't.
As your delegation to the city of Dearborn to speak with the Arab community or the Muslim community is a complete slap in the face. For us, this isn't a moment for electoral politics. This is a moment for us to put humanity at the forefront, to talk about the context of Palestinians outside the context of just poll numbers. You know, we look forward to having serious dialogue with decision makers and policymakers about how to change course. Because if you want to draw a contrast with Donald Trump, you have to talk about what makes you different as it pertains to our family members and our friends overseas. We're currently dying each and every single day. Over 80% of Gaza has been decimated, 100% of the people have been displaced, and over 50% of all those who have been killed are children. So talk to us about what changes tomorrow.
If you had a chance to speak to President Biden directly, what would you say to him?
I think immediately I would say that is always time to do the right thing. And the right thing.
Oh, Mayor. Biden's not, he's after you get done saying that, he's going to say, who are you, Jack? Have you met Corn Pop? Yeah, no. Biden's got, and even if you do have a comment, he's going to nod his head and not do anything.
In this moment of time calls for a ceasefire unequivocally. That is what is needed. We talked about also putting back forth the funding for UNRWA, which is helping assure that 2.2 million people don't die of famine. These are some of the talking points, but to implore the president, as somebody who promised us decency and humanity in the White House, to search his soul, to listen to heed the concerns of Americans, not just Arab Americans and Muslim Americans, but Americans from coast to coast, about ushering diplomatic efforts and moving us forward as a nation.
All this sounds good. Truly it does. But Mayor, the president didn't believe in those words. He's been on the wrong side of history. I get it. You know, it's a game of politics, but he's always been on the wrong side of history.
As you've probably heard, and certainly there have been these voices out there critical of how Arab Americans or Muslim Americans might vote. And they say if Donald Trump does.
Here it is. Trump. He's the threat to democracy. I've gotten some pushback from some people saying, gee, kid, the way you just described Trump, it's almost like you want to vote for him. No, I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. But all this hype around Trump being the threat, Jesus, listen, folks, all of you watching have bigger things to worry about. Come election night, if you're going to vote, your vote is going to be added in with millions of other votes. And then after that, you are powerless to decide who will be the next president because popular vote doesn't matter because we have a thing called the Electoral College. And at the end of the day, be it Biden or Trump who wins the office, it's not going to matter because tomorrow's a whole new day and your problems are still ongoing. The president is just the president. It's not going to matter. And in the end, who wins? One side will cry, one side will cheer. Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing another liberal meltdown because I think it'll be funny and funny content. But, you know, maybe I'm being a little biased there. But it's not going to matter. Vote blue. All what you got is to bully and say, oh, we got to be afraid of Trump. I'm not afraid of Trump. That man's not living rent-free in my head. He's living rent-free in yours. Get over yourself.
In fact, be Joe Biden in a state like Michigan, that Arabs and Muslims would be blamed for that. I want to give you a chance to respond to that criticism. I know that you were saying it's not right to look at things through electoral politics, but the electoral conversation, the political conversation is happening as a tool against the community right now.
You know, I've never lived in a world where you point at the voters and blame them if the candidate does not win. The candidate needs to self-reflect and look in the mirror, in this case, be it President Biden. The question has to fall squarely on him. What will he do to demonstrate, to rebuild that trust and respect amongst Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, and Democrats across the base, over 80% who support a ceasefire? What will he do to prevent the unraveling of our American democracy, which is the threat that Donald Trump poses?
You had me going there until you had to bring up Trump. Look, he's not the threat. You already don't have a republic or a democracy. It's being bought. But somehow Trump's the evil Saturday morning cartoon villain. Listen, I'm going to say something very controversial. There are far more evil people out there than Donald Trump. You think Trump's bad? Wait till you see the ones who are hiding. The ones that no one pays attention to. Especially who've been in power for quite some time. Don't worry. For you vote blue no matter who people, maybe your brains are too filled with Donald Trump's turds to really think about it. But maybe if you clear out your head and you take a good look around at who's representing you in Congress or who represented you in the past and you look at their history and what they've done to us, maybe then you'll realize that there's some greater evil out there. Trump is not the big old end-all threat.
So those questions need to be put back onto the candidate, and no blame should ever be put on a voter or a constituent. We want to go to the polls with hope, inspired, in support of a candidate. This idea that you draw people to the ballot box by getting them to say, I am the lesser of two evils, or out of fear of who might assume the office, that's not as inspirational as one of hope.
All right, Dearborn Mayor Abdullah.
Yeah, he's right. Now, Politics 101 is you don't blame the voters. You don't blame the voters. Hold on. Sorry. Let me clear that out because maybe vote blue no matter who didn't hear me properly. You don't blame the voters. Vote blue no matter who. You don't do that. Period. Simple as that. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. But see, all of you, I'm going to encourage you to be a free thinker, okay? Please, I encourage you. Make your own decision on election night. If you choose not to vote, that's your right to do so. Choose to vote independent or third party, that's your right. If you want to vote Democrat or Republican, hey, wake up. You're part of the two-party system. But okay, fine, do you. But the point is, don't let anyone start blaming you for problems that are understandably out of your control. We got real issues to worry about. Now, vote blue no matter who, and Democrats and the Biden administration and everyone that's carrying water and hoping that the Democrats can beat Trump. What are your plans besides bullying people and scaring people or using corporate media as your shield wall to prevent any criticism? Listen, we all see Biden and how he's acting. Everybody knows about it. Everybody's talking about it. He's not inspiring confidence. And even if he does win by the skin of his teeth, then what happens? We're going to have the oldest sitting president in U.S. history, the commander-in-chief in charge of a global superpower. What are you guys thinking? Are you really that pathetic and afraid of Trump? Vote blue no matter who. Get over yourself and grow up.